How does that go? Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. We're traveling around Nanning City on a bike. Wei Feng's behind me. I've got one hand on my camera and one hand on the steering wheel. Well, how does that go? One hand on the steering wheel and one hand on a bottle of good old Labatt's Blue? Yeah, see, driving around China on an e-bike can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But if you take it really slow, like most people drive fairly slow, even if you do get into a little bit of a fender bender, you might break a little bit of plastic on your bike, but it's usually not a big deal. You know what I mean? There's always a lot of traffic here in Nanning. This is the Chaoyang district. It's one of the main shopping areas of Nanning City, and you know, you've got the rich and you've got the poor. You know, people looking for bottles, recyclables in the garbage and stuff like that. I guess it's endemic in any society that you're going to have, you know, the different classes, the different wealth classes, and that's just the way it is. We're not quite past. You got to watch these guys. They can be dangerous at times. We're not quite past the entire New Year holiday, so there's still at about half the number of people in the city as there usually is, or on the streets of the city. This is a Sunday, so you'd expect this area of the city to be like more hustle and bustle, especially on a Sunday afternoon. But it's not, because it's just not a lot of people here yet. I notice on the subways they're starting to come back to the university. The train station is got a lot of people coming from outside the city, bus stations, the whole 9 yards. But the moral of this story is, this video is for you to see what it's like to drive around a city of 7.5 million people on an e-bike. They've got, they do have the McDonald's, the KFCs, the Pizza Huts, all of those things here. It's all over the world. But 99.9% of all of the restaurants and businesses are Chinese restaurants and businesses, yeah, which is sort of nice. Lots of e-bikes, hey guys? Lots of e-bikes. My last video there, I tried by the canal. I tried to do 4K, but you know, the internal stabilizer on my Sony doesn't work as well at 4K as it does at 1080. So until I get a gimbal for this thing, if anybody knows anybody out there that has a gimbal for a cheap price, or a gimbal company that wants some heavy-duty advertising from Gweilo 60 that will work with an FDRX 3000 Sony camera, give me a call, email me. My email address is in the About section of my main page, so yeah, I could use one of those. Oh, and I'm looking for a couple of things. I'd like to upgrade my my channel. I'm looking for a mirrorless camera. I'm not sure, you know, I could probably do something as old as A6400 Sony mirrorless camera. It's you know, maybe for some B-roll and put some depth to my videos, because I'm thinking of maybe doing a little bit more editing. We're going to be doing a lot of trips this summer around mainland China with different groups of media, also with different businesses. So if you're one of those companies out there that has restaurant, hotel, a tourist attraction, you know, any of these things that you want to promote, we are taking bookings over the next month for the summer period. So keep in mind that we're not only on YouTube in English, but we're on Bilibili, Toutiao, Douyin, and Weibo in both English and in Chinese, and basically about the same amount of subscribers on our Chinese media as we have on the YouTube media now. So that's grown pretty quick. You see all over the city people with their luggage. These are the people coming back from Well, that group would be from the airport, because there's a bus from the airport about a block back. So they get off the bus from the airport and they head for the subway over by the train station here. But you'll notice in this video that there's people walking down the street with their suitcases. This time of the year, it happens all the time. Like these guys right here, suitcase. And yes, you really have to watch yourself when you're driving. You have to have eyes in the back of your head. But as you can tell, nobody really drives that fast. Now we're sitting in front of the Nanning railway station. This place is like a hub. When you come into the holiday season, this place is a madhouse. Gotta love it. But you can see, like, this overpass here 10 years ago wasn't here. You know, China's growing so quickly, the roads, and we noticed when we were downtown, there was a whole new set of buildings down there that we didn't even know existed up until today, and we drive through there all the time. So the boys have been busy building. And it's in the old style, like a couple of videos that I just put out around the New Year holiday. So they're doing that tourist thing in downtown Nanning City that is sort of nice. I've been traveling these roads for about 18 years now and know them like the back of my hand. I don't think I could get lost in Nanning anymore, just for the fact that you look at the skyline and you recognize something. And out of the tunnel we come. This video is actually heading from the Chaoyang district back to Guangxi University. It might take 10 or 15 minutes to get from one place to the other, but I have certain little routes that I really like to take, just for the fact that there's more people, there's more sights. It's more entertaining in my mind. And you get these guys selling stuff on the road all over the place. What was that? 10 corn for 5 RMB? So 10 cobs of corn for $1. You know what I mean? Like, it's China is inexpensive. Oh, and that's another thing. Somebody said, hey, if I wanted to come to China, how expensive is it to rent an apartment and just live? Well, if you're a single guy and you can handle a bachelor suite apartment in Nanning, and I'm only talking about Nanning, you get into Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, places like that, you're going to be spending a lot more. But let's go with just a bachelor suite, not a one bedroom. You got 40 square meters, about 400 square foot. You got a little kitchenette, you got a bathroom, your living room doubles as your bedroom. And you can get something like that for about 1,000 RMB. So 150 American dollars to $200 Canadian, which is quite reasonable. So, you know, if you want to live cheap, China's a good place to do it. In the morning, you're going to spend $2 for breakfast, and that's basically a regular thing. If you go for a bowl of soup or basically any type of breakfast in Nanning, unless you're hitting the dim sum places and whatever. You know, dinner, well, if you eat a big breakfast, because these breakfasts for $2 are pretty big. If you eat a big breakfast, well, supper's the next one. And if you're eating out, just as long as you're not hitting the KFCs or the McDonald's of the world, you could probably get away with about $4 Canadian, $3 American for supper. So yeah, it's cheap. What do you got to pay on your apartment for power? About 100 RMB. So $20 Canadian, $15 American per month. And that's if you watch what you're doing as far as running your air conditioner or your heater in the wintertime. It's one of those things, you pay as much as you want. Don't get me wrong, guys and girls. In China, if you want to rent a high-end apartment, you can spend 15,000-20,000 RMB, you know, 3,000-4,000 Canadian dollars, and live in a more centralized area, a higher-end apartment complex. You can go out for breakfast and spend $100 Canadian, easy enough, on one person. You can go out for supper and spend $500 Canadian or 2,500 RMB. It all depends depends on. So there's that wide range of cost here in mainland China. Nanning too. If you want to really live cheap, you could probably go to a smaller community, a town, a village. I know that Binyang, about an hour outside of Nanning, is a lot less expensive than Nanning is. And then you get into a place like Bobai or Yulin, where it's really inexpensive to live. You know, you might spend 100 Canadian dollars for rent for a month. Breakfast is $1 instead. You know, it's one of those things. So as you're traveling through Nanning, I'd go watch myself here, guys. As you're traveling through Nanning, you'll notice the abundance of e-bikes. This is one of the areas of China that e-bikes are still one of the main ways of transportation. And thank God, because I love my e-bike. My e-bikes, we got a couple of them, but it's one of those things that it's summertime just about all the time here in Nanning. So jumping on the back of an e-bike and tripping around town, it's freedom, I tell you. It's just another form of freedom here in mainland China. One of the things driving around Nanning, or any Chinese city for that matter, is that you'll notice that there's vendors basically everywhere on the streets. Is it illegal? Well, yeah, technically it is, but after COVID, they started to allow it again. A year and a half ago, they wouldn't allow this, just for the fact that they're not paying taxes, and they're plugging up the roadways, and they park in front of businesses that are paying rent and are paying taxes, so it wasn't fair. But to help the economy get back on its feet, because COVID took a lot out of it, they started allowing this. The street vendors, and at night the food vendors, the people that are cooking and serving people on the streets, which is I think a great thing. As now Gweilo can get his street food like he always has, and sometimes, yes, he gets sick because of eating the street food, but you know what, it's worth it because it's so good. Num num num. And yeah, it's a little tight in here when you've got so many people. But once you learn how to ride in China, there's sort of an ebb and flow to the traffic. So it's not as dangerous as you may think it is. When you get going down streets like this, it's just character, guys. You don't have streets like this in the Western world. You don't have, just the abundance of businesses and small business owners, restaurants to soup to nuts. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Little clothing stores to hat stores to just. Basically everything that you could ever possibly think of is for sale here on the streets of China. That's another thing we do in the morning, street dim sum. There's lots of restaurants that will sell rice rolls, and some sell little baozi, basically the stuff that you get at a dim sum restaurant, only you have to sort of shop from one shop to the next to get all of your little dim sums together, and it's like 1/4 the price of a good dim sum restaurant, but the food is just as good. And eating it on the street adds a little bit more to it. So it's one of those things that I would rather eat my dim sum on the street than go to a fancy dim sum restaurant. Unless, of course, we're hanging out with Tango Pay and we got a bottle of Baijiu, and well, actually, we haven't done that on the street. Maybe we should try that one of these days. Nothing but fun and excitement, let me tell you. And it doesn't really take that long to get around Nanning City. Sure, it's 7.5 million people, but you can drive an e-bike from one end to the other in about a half an hour. It's nice. This complex over here, this is where Walmart is. Oh yeah, they've got rotisserie barbecue chicken at Walmart that I'll stop by every once in a while. $2 and you get a chicken, you know what I mean? $2 Canadian. life is very inexpensive here. Oh yeah, I was talking about how expensive or inexpensive life is. 3.8 RMB for a big Pabst Blue Ribbon bottle. I think 690 milliliter, if I'm not mistaken, or really not sure about the milliliter, but it's over 600. You know, so what? 60 cents? 60 cents American? Maybe 80 cents Canadian? Yeah. You notice how good the roads are here? Oh, and if anybody knows why these holes are dug in the road, these little round holes everywhere, let me know, because I've been looking at those damn things for about 18 years and I still have no idea why they would dig little round holes in the pavement all over the city. It makes no sense to me. Pretty soon we're going to be coming up on Food Street and then Ho Chi Lu, and then we're home. So I'm not going to say goodbye yet, because you got to see the Food Street in the daytime. It is an amazing little street. It's got years and years and years of history, feeding the university students of Guangxi University, Guangxi Dashi. I like the colors, like, you know, the businesses, it's all red and yellow, and you know, the big lettering and stuff like that. It adds a little bit of character. In the Western world, they'd say, oh, that's an eyesore, you can't do that. In China, they don't have that saying, you can't do that. It's one of those things that they allow a lot more here, a lot more freedom in business and just your regular day-to-day life. They don't have the rules. You can't walk down the street with a beer in your hand, boy. Here, yeah, you can do that. See what I mean? Wow. Look at the character of the buildings, and you know, it's not high end, not even close to being high end. But you got to look at the signage. Look at you know, the Chinese writing and stuff like that. Even after 18 years, I still look at the places like this and say to myself, yeah, this is pretty cool. China's different. China is a place that's so different than anywhere else in the world, and maybe that's why it's misunderstood so much, because it is different. The people look different, they talk different, they write different, and I wasn't looking at those girls. And we're on Ho Chi Lu, and that's another video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to resubscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell, and whatever you do, don't forget to put a couple bucks in the children's Patreon account. It's for a good cause. Thanks for watching. Bye now.